One, welcome all. Call this meeting to order, and if we can please stand for the invocation if you are able and willing. Heavenly Father, you are always with us and beside us. Be with us this evening as we consider the affairs of our great city. Give us the patience to listen, the wisdom to decide, and the strength to act. Amen. And if we all may have a moment of silence in memory of all those who paid the ultimate price to keep Virginia Beach and our nation so safe. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all. Do I have a motion for the certification of the closed session?
Second.
The vote is open. Vice Mayor Wilson and Councilmember Jackson Green, may I have your vote, please?
Yes.
Yes.
By a vote of 11-0, you've certified the closed session to be in accordance with the motion to read.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the special formal session of the June 24, 2025?
So moved. Second.
One second.
Okay, it's not up yet.
The vote is open.
Yeah, already.
Councilmember, thank you. By a vote of 11-0, you've approved the minutes as submitted.
Okay. Okay, thank you all very much. And at this point, we really like to honor those who have deserve to be honored. And Councilmember Berlucci, I understand you have some special guests here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we do, or we have a special guest incoming. I spoke with Jackson Doan by text just a moment ago. He's parking. And I think he was caught up in traffic, but I told him I'm going to start reading the proclamation. Oh, here he comes. I'm going to start reading the proclamation, and he'll come to the mic as he arrives, which he's just arriving now. So welcome, Jackson. We have a special presentation to declare July as Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness Month. This request was made by Jackson Doan, who's an ambassador for Operation Smile and an advocate for people with craniofacial differences, and he's also a member of our Human Rights Commission, and grateful for his work. It's an honor for me to have a chance to read this proclamation because I have a family member who I love very much who was impacted by craniofacial differences all through her life, my grandmother. And she's passed away now, but I'm very familiar with the story she told me about the challenges that she faced and overcome some and lived with throughout her life as a result of her differences. And so I'm so pleased that we live in an environment now where we have a chance to draw attention and there are greater resources so that people like my grandmother, who I forget the year exactly, but she was born in the 1920s, don't have to suffer some of the same ways that she did through her lifetime, thanks to all the great work that's being done by so many people, including so many great people in Virginia Beach. So with that said, whereas orofacial clefts are the most frequently occurring birth defects in the United States, affecting approximately 1 in 700 infants per year, and whereas people born with clefts and other craniofacial conditions usually require surgery as well as special feeding support, dental and orthodontic care, psychiatric care, and speech therapy as they grow, and whereas this complexity of services needs to be provided in a synchronized manner over a period of years and are best provided by interdisciplinary cleft and craniofacial teams. And whereas Operation Smile, the world's leading nonprofit organization and bridging the gap in access to essential surgeries and healthcare with cleft surgery and comprehensive care worldwide, has their global headquarters in Virginia Beach. And whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize the efforts of Operation Smile, Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters Cleft and Craniofacial Center, and local families and advocates working to ensure a better life for those affected by cleft lip, palate, and other craniofacial conditions. And whereas Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness Month will encourage and support local medical institutions, research efforts, and advocacy groups to collaborate on research aimed at identifying the root causes of orofacial conditions and identify and innovate early intervention strategies to better assist citizens born with orofacial clefts and other craniofacial conditions. All words I'm not used to saying on a regular basis, so thanks for your patience. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Virginia Beach does hereby recognize the month of July as Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness Month, encouraging all citizens to take time to become more informed concerning clefts and other craniofacial conditions and support nonprofit organizations that provide services and care to kids and adults who are born with these types of conditions. And be it further resolved, the City of Virginia Beach reaffirms its commitment to fostering inclusive healthcare, public education, and community support by promoting increased awareness, acceptance, and advocacy for individuals and families affected by cleft and craniofacial conditions, and encourages ongoing collaboration among healthcare providers, educators, nonprofit organizations, and local government to ensure access to comprehensive care and resources for all who need them. So thank you very much. Congratulations. And the mayor and I would, and anyone else who'd like to, will come down and present this to you. And then Jackson, if you'd like to say a few words and introduce your colleague, who's also welcome to say a few words.
We'll keep it quick because we see there's a lot of people and I'm sure you guys have a lot of business, but thank you again for having us and good evening. My name is Jackson Doan and I am a Virginia Beach Human Rights Commissioner and a cleft advocate.
And my name's Haley Dorr. I'm a Kellam High School senior and also a cleft advocate. We'd like to express our gratitude to the Virginia Beach City Council for showing their support to Operation Smile, CHKD, and our local patient community for the second year in a row. Last year, Virginia Beach made history as the first city in Virginia to recognize Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness Month. According to available data, an estimated 1,300 Virginia Beach residents are born with a cleft or craniofacial condition. These people are our neighbors, students, coworkers and friends, and even our family members. Despite the variety of our conditions and syndromes, we are united in our mission to spread awareness.
And even in Virginia Beach, many cleft patients struggle to get coverage for basic medical procedures and to address problems caused by their condition. Thankfully, local organizations empowered by the Virginia Beach City Council, like Operation Smile and CHKD, exist and are at the forefront of fighting for patient care. Awareness is the first step, to many, to achieving quality and equal medical care for people born like us. Thank you to the council members and the citizens of Virginia Beach for giving us this platform as we continue our journeys as patient advocates. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And folks, we also have some special guests. We got some Boy Scouts and the Scouts there. Come on down, all of you. Come on, Scouts. We like to put them on the spot. Now, this is our future, and whenever we see Boy or Girl Scouts in the room, we honor them. They are the future. Okay, one at a time. Come up and say your name, and then come on up. I'm going to give you a city pin.
My name is Jaden Lin.
Yeah, come on up. Here you go.
Shirley Song.
There you go.
Benjamin Perez.
There you go. Welcome.
Ishan Gowda. Zachary Song.
Hey, great. Hey, thank you all for coming. God bless you. Let's give them a hand. Please. Okay, at this point, I'm going to read the speaker policy. I want to remind everyone that the City Council speaker policy that allows certain representatives of groups to speak for 10 minutes applies only to planning items. All other speakers, whether speaking individually or on behalf of a group, will have up to 3 minutes to speak on a single item. Speakers are reminded that comments during the formal session of the meeting must be limited to the subject of the item that is being considered by council at the time you are called. For items placed on the consent agenda, a speaker will have up to 3 minutes to address any single item. If a speaker wishes to address multiple consent items, the speaker will have cumulative time of 6 minutes to address those items. Again, the speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter of the items they have signed up to address. And finally, I call upon all speakers and all persons in the chamber to be civil in their discussion and decorum. And whatever views you hold, want to express, the City Council wants to hear from you and to ensure that all viewpoints and all persons are respected. The best way to do this is for all of us to strive for civility and respect. Are there any single items?
Mayor, there are no individuals signed up on a single item. However, did you want to hear from the applicant representative for 6, 7, and 8 on planning, or did you want to do the consent agenda first?
Does anybody represent?
No, that's a question for you, Mayor and Vice Mayor. I'm not sure how. This is for the battery operation. Did you want to have him come up first
Barbara,
before you vote?
Did you want to split presentation on something? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we can do it at the end. Okay, we'll just go ahead with the consent agenda now.
Okay, thank you.
So under ordinances, number 1 is the ordinance to declare city-owned property at 302 22nd Street to be in the excess of the city's needs and authorize the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement for the sale of the property to 21st Street Properties LLC, the development of the property into a multi-use development project, and this is going to be deferred until August 12th. Number 2 is the ordinance to authorize the acquisition of temporary and permanent easements, either by agreement or condemnation, the Eastern Shore Drive Drainage Improvements, Phase 1, Section 1B, 1C, 2, 1D, and 1E project. Number 3 is the ordinance to authorize the city manager to execute an amendment to the lease agreement with Kempsville Borough Boys Baseball, Inc. for city-owned property at 952 Rion Drive, ready to add a 37 plus or minus square foot storage area. Number 4 is the ordinance to authorize the city manager to execute a lease for city-owned property at the Virginia Beach Farmers Market Suite 516, Ray Princess Anne County Grill. Number 5 is the ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into city-owned property known as Bass Inlet and into a 5-foot city-owned drainage and utility easement located at the side and rear of 320 Back Bay Crescent. Ray maintain 2 existing timber wharves, concrete boat ramp, gravel driveway, construct and maintain a proposed timber wharf addition and 2 timber pile aluminum boat lift, and that's in District 2. Number 6 is the ordinance to accept and appropriate $30,000 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services to the FY 2025-26 Emergency Medical Services Operating Budget, raise support first responders wellness. Number 7 is the ordinance to appropriate $3.2 million from the fund balance of the general fund and transfer funds as pay-go funding to Central Project number 10463, Virginia Aquarium Rehabilitation and Renewal, and authorize the city manager to execute a cost share agreement with the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center Foundation, Inc., Ray Exhibit and facility repairs at the Virginia Aquarium.
Open planning.
See, number 4 and 5 has been pulled. Number 6, Starling Best Energy, Inc., LLC, for street closure, rate approximately 29,601 square feet of an improved right-of-way known as Windy Willow. We're going to read them, and then we're going to have you present. Willie Window Court, and that's in District 2. 7 is Starling Best Energy, LLC, / Arlene Cohen Exempt Marital Trust, Windy Willows Arms, LLC, for a conditional change of zoning from R 7.5 residential district to I1 light industrial for a property located at 1688 Windy Willow Court, parcel directly southwest of 1688 Windy Willow Court, and parcel directly east of 1688 Windy Willow Court, and that's in District 2. Number 8 is Starling Best Energy, LLC, Starling Farm, LLC, Arlene Cohen Exempt Marital Trust, Windy Willow Farms, LC, for a conditional use permit, Ray operate a battery energy storage system, and that's in District 2. Number 9 is BH Cypress Point, MF Development, LLC, for a conditional change of zoning from B2 Community Business District to conditional B4 Mixed Use District to redevelop the existing Cypress Point Shopping Center into a mixed-use development to include multifamily dwelling as well as office and retail space at 928 Diamond Springs Road and 1025 Heatherwood Drive, and that's in District 9. Number 10 is Amanda Matthews Village Church for conditional use permit to add child care recreation educational center at 4013 Indian River Road, and that's in District 2. Number 11 is Hope Care and Love Home Healthcare Services, LLC, Holland Office Park, LLC, for a conditional use permit, Ray Adult Daycare, enter at 464 South Independence Boulevard, Suites 104 and 106, and that's in District 3. Number 12, Garth Gillespie for a conditional use permit, Ray short-term rentals at 521 22nd Street, and that's in District 6. Number 13 is Diane Ong for conditional use permit, Ray short-term rentals at 927 Pacific Avenue, Unit B, and 905 Pacific Avenue, Unit A, and that's in District 5. Move for approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Eddie, bring him up. Yeah, Eddie, come on up
Can we,
now. Yeah.
I'm sorry, can we do the vote first?
Oh, do the
Before
vote
you
first.
do this
Okay, we'll do the vote
presentation,
first, and
please?
then we'll get the
This is
explanation.
unusual.
It's a little out of sequence here, but we'll
Thank you. The
get it.
vote is open. Councilmember, thank you. By a vote of 11-0, you've approved the consent agenda as read by Vice Mayor Wilson. Eddie
Yeah.
Burdon.
Councilmember Henley requested that one item that went through on consent gets an explanation from the attorney.
Yes, this is such an unusual
issue.
One of a
And
kind.
I think probably a lot of folks maybe would have some concerns about it, but I think it's so important that everybody knows what all is going to be done with this particular issue, which is a relatively new thing for battery energy storage. And so I asked Mr. Verdon to just give a little brief explanation of all of the things that are going to be done to make certain this is safe.
Thank you, Councilwoman Henley. I want to mention that Mark Paulson with the applicant is with us this evening, Mr. John Seeker, as well as Mike Watson with Trina Solar were also on call if there were any questions. This Starling BESS Energy LLC proposes to construct this 80 megawatt alternating current battery energy storage system. The facility and its access only occupy 12.2 acres of this 52 plus acre site. And that's 4 parcels. The facility will consist of the individual battery containers and associated equipment, collection lines, the facility substation, and stormwater BMP within a totally fenced in and vegetated, minimum 100-foot vegetated buffer around the entire site. The facility will not be viewable. You cannot see it from any right of way in the city. The facility will deliver power from its substation to the 230 kilovolt transmission lines owned and operated by Dominion Power that are located on the site. The general purpose of the facility is to strengthen the electrical grid reliability in order to support the development and addition of clean and renewable sources of electricity to the Virginia bulk power transmission system, to service the needs of the electrical utilities in the Commonwealth and to serve the needs of us, the consumers, both current and future consumers of electricity. This facility will store electricity from the grid during off-peak periods and dispatch the electricity onto the electric grid during peak demand periods. This function serves as a valuable addition to the electrical service system by using lower cost energy generated during off-peak hours during peak periods to meet that peak demand and to provide flexibility to optimize the use of clean, intermittent, renewable resources. The battery storage installation, maintenance, and monitoring of this facility will be done by Trina Solar Limited, which is a recognized worldwide leader in this field. They have installed and maintained the same equipment which will be used in this facility and over 100 similar systems in the last 12 years with no fires and no major incidents. This is a perfect site. There are no residences within 500 feet of the property. It's in the highest noise zone. The nearest residence being on the north side of Ships Corner Road, well over 500 feet away. The facility will not be constructed until the second half of 2027 and placed into service late in 2028. Your Planning Commission and your professional staff recommended 8 conditions with this use permit. Again, it's first of its kind that I'm aware of in the area, certainly in Virginia Beach, all of which were either acceptable to or offered by and approved by my clients. A couple key ones are number 8, and that's an emergency action plan must be submitted to the fire chief of Virginia Beach and reviewed and collaboratively worked on between the fire department and my clients. And that will begin this year, even though this will not be built until 2027. And that emergency plan will cover every potential eventuality. And that's a condition of site plan approval. And also 6 and 7, which are the required decommissioning plan. The facility's useful life, 30 to 40 years. But it's not only a decommissioning plan, but number 8 requires that decommissioning plan be bonded, performance of it be bonded. And that's not happened in this area before that I'm aware of in any type of a use or permit. And those are the points that I thought were important, but if you all have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Well, I appreciate your giving these explanations. I'm glad that we didn't have opposition to your application, but I wanted everyone to know just how well done this is going to be. And as it does move forward and you start hearing about it, ask questions, and we'll certainly be able to answer them and make certain that this is going to be completely safe for everyone. And as he said, nobody's going to see it if you didn't know that you had just heard that it's going to be there.
Every
Thank you so
opportunity
much.
to make it safe will be taken advantage of. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you long.
Okay, thank you, Eddie.
Mayor Don.
Yes.
So can I speak to the deferral on item number 1 and ordinances to declare city-owned property 302 22nd Street? I asked for that for deferral until August 12th to meet with the developer, his team, his architect, contractor, and relook at the potential reuse of the existing city property, former library. And we'll be meeting the next couple of weeks to try to determine that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move forward now with the regular planning items. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to vote as a group, K1, K2, and K3. And we're going to blend the speakers from, all these items, into one little list. I'll read this. Item number 1 is Hartzell Reynolds, Portia McGraw, Sharon McPherson, Edward Thomas, Roland Hayes, trustees for Turning Point Church and Ministries, formerly known as the Agape International Church, for modification of conditions, religious use of a portion of 2641 Princess Anne Road in District 2. Number 2, Kellingwood Apartments LLC, Kellingwood Apartments LLC, and Southern 23 LLC for modification of proffers to conditional change of zoning, raised separate to proffers applicable to the original phase development known as Southern Pine and the proposed development known as the Silo at Southern Pine for a parcel directly northwest of 2641 Princess Anne Road and 2520 Alley Nickel Circle, District 2. And number 3, Franklin Group Companies LLC, Hartzell Reynolds, Portia McGraw, Sharon McPherson, Edward Thomas, Ronald Hayes, trustees for the Turning Point Church Ministries, formerly known as Agape International, and Southern 23 LLC for conditional change of zoning from A13 Apartment District to A and AG1 Agricultural Districts to conditional A3 Apartment Districts with Workforce Housing Overlay District, developed to add 24 additional units for partial directly northwest of 2641 Princess Anne Road and portion of 2641 Princess Anne Road, District 2. Okay, ready for the speakers.
The first speaker is Rob Beeman, representing the applicant.
Hey.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, for the record, my name is Rob Beeman. I am a local land use attorney with the Troutman Pepper Law Firm here today on behalf of the applicant.
Mr. Beeman, if you'll pull the microphone up, they're having a hard time hearing.
Sorry, is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I was just introducing myself for the record, Rob Beeman, a local land use attorney. Okay.
The microphone's on.
Just a little bit better.
Just speak close to the mic.
Okay. Again, just to introduce myself, Rob Beeman, Troutman Pepper Law Firm here today on behalf of the applicant, Franklin Group Companies. I'm joined this evening by James Noel and Freddie Fletcher from Franklin Group, together with representatives of the Turning Point Church, who is the property owner on parts of this application. Back in 2023, the City Council approved the rezoning of an approximate 6.26 acre property located on the south side of Princess Anne Road, just west of the Municipal Center, from AG1 and AG2 to conditional A18 with a workforce housing overlay to facilitate the development of a 176-unit development known as the Silo. The application before you this evening would add 2.3 acres to the Silo property, which Franklin Group would purchase from the Turning Point Church, who I just mentioned. The additional land would primarily be used for two purposes. First, the existing stormwater pond on the Turning Point Church site would be expanded and improved so that it could be used by both the Silo site and the church. Secondly, a single 3-story, 24-unit additional residential building would be added to the site, and all the units in that building would qualify as workforce housing units under the city's program. The additional land would also allow for modifications to our site layout that make this a greatly improved project, including the addition of significant open space towards the center portions of the property, a more efficient parking layout and vehicular circulation pattern, and then significant reductions in the height of several of the multifamily buildings on the site. In the first application, 4 of the 5 buildings would have been 4 stories, with just 1 building along Princess Anne Road at 3 stories. Under the current application, 4 of the 6 buildings are 3 stories, with the only 2 4-story buildings being in the back of the site, farthest from Princess Anne Road. Otherwise, the design of the site remains largely the same. All tenant access would be from the rear of the site off George Wythe Drive. There would be no tenant access off Princess Anne Road, and all residential units would be outside of the ITA and within the under 65 noise zone. Finally, I did want to mention that with the addition of 24 workforce housing units as part of this application, the project will have a total of 77 workforce housing units, which is 38% of the overall development. And that will help address the critical need throughout the city for affordable housing, especially in the proximity to the municipal center. And with that, I thank you very much for your time and consideration, and we'll stand by for questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker
Is that the best this microphone can do? Can you folks out in their audience hear? I have a hearing problem, so I'm not sure if it's just me or if I can't hear. Is there anything that can be done to make this microphone in here, let the people in the audience know what's being
we get the
said?
handheld microphone?
Thankfully, I can read this, or some of you can read on the side, but we certainly don't have a very good system here.
Okay, next speaker.
The next speaker is Tom Luckman. Mr. Luckman is representing the West Neck Community Association. After Mr. Luckman is Mark Johnson, who will be representing the Back Bay Restoration Foundation.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tom Luckman. I'm a West Neck resident. Your Mayor, Vice Mayor Wilson, members of council, I hope you can hear me. I'm here this evening representing the Villages of West Neck Homeowners Association and the 1,100 plus committed members of the supporters of the transition area rules, the SOTAR group. We wear these little badges, and I'd like the SOTAR group to stand up. You recognized? We, like many in Virginia Beach, believe the Green Line is under attack by these modifications of conditions and proffers in the change to the zoning. Established in 1979 to preserve the city's rural area and thwart urban growth, the Green Line has been a stalwart as a policy tool to stop urban sprawl and change growth and infrastructure improvements to the northern half of the city. For 45 years, successive city councils have reinforced the original purpose of the Green Line. And since 2003, this policy has been recognized as an integral part of the city's numerous updated comprehensive plans. These formal plans manage thorough planning and guide physical growth in areas such as development, transportation, and flooding protection. The current draft comp plan under development since 23 continues to state the well-known Green Line policy in its overview, context goals, objectives, and big ideas, thus documenting the fact that during its lengthy workup, Virginia Beach citizens overwhelmingly favored continuing this established open space protection and minimal growth strategy. The current draft comp plan does, however, have a long way to go to align the draft text with the policy statements, citizens' desires, and the long-term documented protection past comp plans have afforded the area below the Green Line. This is a significant matter of concern to those of us who have studied the draft, hoping it's not intentional and will be strengthened. However, it is becoming clear that some on this council, along with numerous power brokers and a willing staff, together threaten the long-term protection the Green Line has provided its citizens. Attacks on the Green Line are not new. When the 2017 establishment of the Virginia Beach Bio-Research Park in the Princess Anne Commons section of the Green Line failed, it morphed in 2020 into Innovation Park, which was described as a magnet for high-quality, technological, innovative, advanced manufacturing businesses. but it has become nothing more than light industrial land for the Development Authority to fill as it desired, and which is they cost the taxpayers over $20 million in infrastructure just to get the two businesses in. The first use of this area was in conjunction with the state's attempt to keep an expanding business in the Commonwealth, when in 2020 it assisted in helping Acoustical Sheet Metal acquire 19 acres, then in 23, 5 more acres, and finally last month, 21 more acres. In 2022, the Development Authority sold 40-plus acres to AGI to allow their consolidation and expansion of office, manufacturing, warehouse functions. With the June 23 sale, the 21-plus acres previously mentioned, that leaves just 10 acres of developable land remaining in Innovation Park. Well, the Development Authority now wants 700 additional acres for the new Innovation Park master plan in poorly drained, high water table land. Since this was not a consideration during the city's new comp plan workup, they are attempting to link it with recent interfacility traffic area ITA master plan for the same area that would be dedicated to sports and ecotourism, providing long sought after increase in recreation and sport offering for residents and tourists. Although their plan essentially destroys the expanded recreation and sport offering, it creates the illusion that they both can exist in harmony. The Arnold Palmer Signature Golf Course was sold at foreclosure in 2020, and the attempt by the owner and his developer to construct residential units on the property was withdrawn at the last minute earlier this year, in part due to the 1,260 units in the surrounding two HOAs continually highlighting the lack of two important comp plan requirements. However, having spent considerable capital, they did not go quietly into the night, but repeatedly stated the possible resubmission of their application to meet the needs of the city, along with their careful study of the new city's comp plan goals. Obviously, they perceive what we have identified as a weakening of the comp plan draft guidance with respect to the transition area, all of which is below the green line. In 2023, council and staff put forth an initiative it called Project Wayne, a potential rezoning of an unknown manufacturer in an area south of Princess Anne Athletic Complex and west of Virginia Beach National Golf Course. It was approximately 150 acres of city-owned farmland, zone agriculture, well below the green line. We believe this attempt succumbed due to public outcry. In the same year, a well-connected Franklin and Johnson group proposed 3- and 4-story buildings with 176 apartments on 6.26 acres on the south side of Princess Anne and below the green line. Opposition at the public hearing to the silo apartments was the largest ever seen in Virginia Beach, filling this 300-seat council chambers, the lobby, and numerous connected conference rooms. Although opposition speakers were many and on point, the outcome was obviously predetermined, as the majority of council cited developers offering to include 53 units of workforce housing, units offered under 25% of the market rate, and the city's stated goal as more important than the maintenance of the green line and all applicable comp plan guidelines. One might ask, why has council approved numerous SAGs, strategic growth areas, if they're not channeling development there? But now Franklin Johnson Group is back with new application, wanting to expand their silo project to 200 apartments and an additional building, along with the purchase of 2.3 acres from the adjoining Turning Point Church, and changing the project name to Killingswood Apartments. The excessive density, lack of open space, parking deficiencies, stormwater issues, traffic impact, building heights, setback deviations, and poor access all remain in conflict with the current comp plan and 45 years of precedent. How much urban and industrial creep will this council approve? Will you be forever known as a council that destroyed the green line? It's getting to look that way. Is saving the green line an uphill battle for we citizens? Definitely. Is it worth fighting for? Absolutely. Please vote no to this enlarged assault on the green line. With those agreeing with me in opposition to Killingwood's apartment, please rise. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mark Johnson. And after Mr. Johnson is Diana Hicks. Tia, the microphone was working fine that time, so he was talking directly into the microphone, so let's give this a try first. If you can just speak directly into the microphone, it helps a lot.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mark Johnson. I live on Horn Point Road. I'm a member of Back Bay Restoration Foundation. We've been here before about this very same thing and resoundingly got beat. Even with the mass turnout, I think we were here for over 6 hours. We broke the council chamber in. But I'm going to concur with Mr. Lockman. You know, the current application does nothing to resolve the issues that we highlighted almost 2 years ago. The application only serves to increase the number of units and also makes the original application less compliant with the existing city comprehensive plan and ordinances. Of great concern is your continued ignorance, or it seems so, of the green line, which a lot of us are in line with that. The green line is like the wiggly line, and it's our job, as our foundation mandates, that we are the watchdog for the southern watersheds. And where this project wants to be built is the same kind of farmland that Asheville Park and Sherwood Lakes and everything else in the transition zone was built on. It's hydric. It does not drain well. It's going to be covered with concrete, asphalt, all things that just run water off. If we get a situation that Texas just went through, you're going to see water like you've never seen that can't go anywhere. And this is what I'm worried about. I live in the water all the time anyway on Horn Point Road. But we've historically opposed development projects that negatively affect Back Bay and North Landing. In almost all the cases, we anticipated the negative impacts, both economically and environmentally, that projects such as Asheville Park and Sherwood Lakes would cause, only to be ignored by the council. These two projects alone cost the city $22 million to mitigate stormwater impacts that we predicted. Now, my fear with this project is once it's built, developer goes away, y'all are on the hook. It ain't y'all. It's us, the taxpayer, that's on the hook to figure out what's wrong with their project. We're just trying to do. I'm all for workforce. We're for workforce. We're for affordable housing. It just should not be in this part of the district. It should be someplace else. The only thing that I can say is 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were talking about wait till the science comes in. The science came in. We did Dewberry. We spent millions. We've spent so much money on studies. We have all these things that council comes to, that citizens are invited to, surveys on the internet, everything in the world to voice opinions. And we've got our finger on the pulse of these opinions that are being voiced. And it's just like, it's almost like it just goes unheard. Now, I don't know what, the ramifications are for you people as a set of rulers to, dictate what happens in this watershed, but I'm very much a part of it, and I care very much about it. And we hate to see something like this come in that's going to adversely impact, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but we get that 1 in a million storms. It's going to be, everybody's going to cry. Y'all going to be on the hooks for spending millions more on another pump station that's going to pump water on top of water that can't go anywhere. So I just think, you ought to listen to the ITA committee. You ought to listen to the citizens. You ought to listen a little more to the people who live here as opposed to the people who are just trying to make a buck and run. And, I know the Franklin groups got a lot of really good things that they've done. This is not the place to do it. Thank you.
The next speaker is Larry Walker, as Ms. Hicks is going to go later in the evening. So Mr. Walker, and then Bobby Richardson will be asked after Mr. Walker.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening, Council. My name is Larry Walker. I live at 2500 Calumet Drive, Virginia Beach and Indian River Plantation, but I'm here just speaking for myself. I'm here to recommend your disapproval of this revised proposal. I wish you had disapproved of the original proposal, but you didn't. I'm not against the developer. I'm sure they're a quality developer. They do good work. I've heard a lot of good things about them. This is just the wrong project for this location. It's former swamp. It's documented former swampland. Why does the water not percolate down? Because it's swampland. Where does water have to go? The stormwater, all the way to the North Landing River. That's across the golf course. You're going to pay to do that. We are going to pay to do that. It's a constricted development site. Where's the green space that developments are supposed to have for the children that'll live there? By what I've seen on their maps, very little, very little. It's a high urban density development, 200 homes. What does that mean for the number of cars associated with that facility? 300 cars? All setback development variance, building height variance, parking slot variance. Why? What's the purpose of the Green Line? Why did the city establish it in the first place? The previous speaker said it very well, that transition from urban to rural. Why did the city staff recommend approval when they're supposed to be the experts in all the various areas and they are going against the guidelines that the city put forth? And you're buying it. If you think the Green Line is outdated and doesn't serve a good purpose, put it up for referendum. Let the citizens of Virginia Beach tell you what they want.
Thank you very much, sir.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Bobby Richardson. After Mr. Richardson is Terry Stevens.
Good evening.
Virginia Beach City Council, Bobby Richardson here. Good evening. I have spoke before. Several of you, recognize several of you. You know what direction I'm speaking to tonight. I am the former president of Indian River Plantation. Collectively, we put together several HOAs within the transition area to speak to these issues of the invasion of the Green Line. We have pinged Ms. Barbara Henley relentlessly at every District 2 meeting that she states. We are asking her the hard questions that I'm now asking you guys tonight. I heard it this morning. I was there at the meeting. She's begging you to listen to what we're telling you about District 2. We have the ag industry, we have a few neighborhoods, and we have very little in the way of infrastructure that's supporting any of the developments that you guys are proposing, let alone the flooding aspects of it. We're living in a swamp. We're telling you not to develop it. Last time around when we were talking about the silos, we stayed here till midnight. We loudly told you person to person, everybody that's standing in here, we went till midnight. There were 300 of us telling you not to develop this area. We're telling you the same thing tonight. I understand what has changed, but it still doesn't change the porosity of the cement that's going down and that we're developing in a flood zone area, as are several of the other development projects that are looking at in District 2. I understand we're at a problem with developable land. Does that mean that District 2, because we have farmland, is now on the agenda? We are now called the context area, the courthouse context area versus the development, the transition area. What's changed, fellas? Between the city staff and the Economic Development Authority, we as the citizens are left out of the process until we see the orange signs. We've got to get some advocacy going for the citizens. At the staff level, when we were here for the Signature Meadows project, I was down at the staff several times. The developer was there for years. We were there 3 times and they basically threw us out of the office. Where's the citizen advocacy at the staff level that is inviting the neighborhoods that are affected by these developments and giving them a rundown of what's going on before we see the 60-day sign, that's orange sign? As I see a 60-day orange sign, it's baked in the cake. If you haven't been in here doing due diligence by that time, you've lost the fight. If we're serious about community development, as they talked about in your staff brief today, the Planning Commission.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Terry Stevens. After Ms. Stevens is Usha. After Ms. Stevens is Osha Ellis-Warpo.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of City Council and fellow residents. My name is Terry Stevens. I am currently the Vice Chair of the Virginia Beach Clean Community Commission, and I serve for almost 2 years on the Housing Advisory Board. I understand the need for, and I support, the development of affordable housing in our city. However, that is not what this project is, and I want to confirm that you all are aware of exactly what you are voting on this evening. Workforce housing is different than affordable housing. The current maximum allowed percentage of area median income, or AMI, to qualify for workforce housing is 90%. Typically, to be considered affordable housing, the rates are closer to 40 to 60% AMI. Per the Workforce Housing Program income guidelines and maximum affordable rents, a 2-bedroom apartment may charge up to $19.17 per month for a 2-bedroom at 80% AMI and $21.57 per month at 90% AMI. Southern Pines Apartments, which was being used as phase 1 of this proposed development back in October of 2023, currently has 2 2-bedroom apartments for rent. One is asking $19.50 a month and the other $20.25 per month. $19.50 a month and $20.25 a month at this luxury apartment complex falls between the workforce housing 80 to 90% allowed limits. This developer's current application states that all of the workforce housing units will be at the 80% AMI, which is $19.17 per month. But their current asking price for a 2-bedroom in their neighboring luxury development is $19.50. This amounts to approximately 81% AMI and is only a $33 a month savings. So in essence, the savings for workforce housing will only be approximately 1% off of full current market rent. That's not a huge savings and certainly does not qualify as affordable housing. This development will not solve the housing affordability issues in our city, with only a mere 1% savings off for our workforce housing units compared to full market value. Further, it will actually probably exacerbate the problem by creating even more expensive luxury apartments. If you want affordable housing and you plan to violate the comp plan and go against the wishes of the majority of your citizens by developing south of the Green Line, then at the very least, be sure you are actually approving a development that is affordable. I urge you to vote no.
The next speaker is Usha. The next speaker is Usha Ellis-Warpo. I'm sorry if I'm messing up your last name.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Usha Ellis-Warpo, and I'm here to ask all of you to vote against the proposal for the silo project expansion. A little bit about myself. My background is in environmental science, and I teach at Rutgers University, the State University of New Jersey. We moved here about 5 years ago, and I still continue to teach there online. My research and teaching have focused on water quality and more broadly on water resource management. And that is why I volunteered to be on the Flood Prevention Bond Referendum Oversight Board. And I serve as the vice chair there. But I'm not here in that capacity, and I want to make that clear. I'm here as a very concerned Virginia Beach resident. The silo project is located in an area that has very poorly drained soils. It has a high water table, and it's very much prone to flooding. In fact, the sea level-wise adaptation strategy, the Dewberry report that was commissioned by the city and published in March of 2020, states that these areas are very low-lying and have elevation of less than 3 feet. And placing housing for the lower income residents in a flood-prone area is very unfair and unjust, because you're placing undue hardship on those people who are least able to financially handle it. If this proposal is approved, the zoning is going to be changed from agricultural to multifamily residential. Parking spaces are going to be reduced. The setback from the road is going to be reduced. The density of housing units is going to be reduced. The tree canopy is going to be reduced a lot. Out of the total 10 acres, 6.2 acres is going to become impervious after this project is completed. Think about that. This means that any water that falls on 62% of this development is going to simply wash out, nowhere to go. The flood mitigation costs that we have already gone up from $500 million that was approved during the bond referendum to over $1 billion. And I sit at this Flood Prevention Bond Referendum Oversight Committee, and I listen to what is happening to our city. This is going to only make it worse. It is going to raise the flood mitigation costs for all the taxpayers in Virginia Beach, not just the ones in District 2. And all of this violates the comprehensive plan. Not only that, it's going to open the door to more developers. They're going to want to change the zoning laws now. They're going to change the density ratios. They're going to change setback. All of this is going to happen below the Green Line. And the Green Line is supposed to protect the open space, protect the agricultural economy, and this charming city that I moved to from New Jersey. Please don't spoil that. I understand the city is concerned about providing homes that are affordable to different income levels, but we can do this by increasing the supply of housing. We don't want to become New York City.
Thank you very much.
Particularly in the strategic growth areas of Hilltop, Lynn Haven, Rosemont. So please, I ask all of you to please vote against this expansion. Thank you.
The next speaker is Venka Ellis-Warpo, and then Paul Tower.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Venkat Ellis-Warpo, a resident of Virginia Beach for the last 5 years. My wife and I moved here from New Jersey to retire here. Just to give a brief background of myself, I worked in the financial industry for 15 years as a portfolio manager and was a finance professor before that. I'm a financial economist and have a PhD in finance. Today, I'm here to strongly urge you to vote against this expansion of the silo housing project. Here are my reasons to oppose the proposal. Number one, it's the wrong approach to making housing more affordable. 77 out of 200 units will be rent controlled with rents set by a housing advisory board. Having a Soviet-style unelected and unaccountable housing board setting rents will not solve the problem. Artificially reducing the rents on some units will increase the rents on the rest of the housing. Just look at New York City to see how rent control works there or doesn't work there. The focus should be on increasing the supply of low-cost housing by rezoning other areas of the city above the green line. I'm not against low-cost housing, but this is the wrong approach and the wrong location. Number two, construction on this site will increase flooding problems. This area has poorly drained soil and a high water table, making it prone to flooding. This housing project has too much paved surface. This, along with the removal of the tree canopy, is going to worsen the flooding problems. Number three, the apartment complex will cause traffic problems. There is no proper plan to handle the traffic from the more than 300 vehicles in this complex. The only available access road from George Wythe Road will not be sufficient to handle the traffic. In conclusion, I strongly urge you to vote against this proposal. Those of you running for re-election next year, please remember the voters are watching you. Thank you.
The next speaker is Paul Towler, and then Christopher Petrokis.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? My name is Paul Towler, and I live in Heron Ridge Estates, a proud resident of District 2. This proposal is 200 units, 316 bedrooms, 329 parking spaces, which, by the way, is a 30-space waiver from what is typically required. This is in a car-dependent area. The zoning administrator sent you guys a letter noting that there was a nearby bus stop. Of course, he didn't denote or note the frequency of buses or where the buses go or how long it's going to take to get anywhere. You don't have all the facts yet, so please do not move this proposal forward. I understand the proposal is categorized as workforce housing, which means that these occupants are going to be required to be on their jobs at specific times, potentially doing shift work. These are teachers, firefighters, public servants, salt of the earth kind of people. This proposal limits parking spaces for cars, provides marginal access to mass transit, and does not serve the workforce profile. Let's talk about George Wythe Drive, the primary ingress and egress from this site. Go there at any time. I go there a lot. I live near there. Go there at any time and see the negative impact that this application will have on an already congested area. Existing apartments, gas stations, restaurants, and a shopping center. Due to the already existing congestion, this proposal will only exacerbate that problem. If you've indeed been to this physical location, take a minute and imagine for me an apartment fire. Imagine for me an emergency where emergency vehicles on George Wythe Drive will not be able to get into or out of to service the situation. This proposal will increase congestion and make this an absolute potential problem. It's not hyperbole, guys. It's a fact. You can't move this proposal forward. Why the hurry? You know, it's interesting. We looked at some of the paperwork, and the church's site plan today doesn't even have a driveway on it. It just has a notation that we'll work this out a little bit later. What are we going to do? File this under just trust us? Trust is earned. There needs to be clear definition and lots of transparency. Do not move this proposal forward. And in conclusion, deny the rezoning of this 2+ acres to A18. You must stop and take a breath in this area. Variances.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming.
Do not move this forward. Thank you.
The next speaker is Christopher Petrokis, and then Holly Martier.
Good evening.
Good evening, council members.
I'm not going to tell you anything that you haven't already heard tonight. I just need to speak as a concerned citizen. My name is Chris Petrakos, and I'm a full-time resident of Sandbridge, and I'm here tonight to urge you to vote no on the Keelingwood apartment expansion. This project is not just flawed; it's a dangerous expansion to a long-term integrity and the issues of the transition area that we've had over the last many years. It's also dangerous to the green line protections that we've relied upon for decades. The expansion violates both the spirit and the letter of the comprehensive plan. So here's why I urge you to vote no. The community has already said no. This is not a new project. It's a rebranded expansion of the silo at Southern Pines. It's a project that was deeply controversial and had overwhelming community opposition. So advisory committees, citizens groups, and residents all say no. The Citizens Advisory Committee voted 7-2 against this. Every HOA contacted is opposed. The people you represent are united against this project. So now the developer's back under a new name, asking for even more units, more height, more exceptions that violate every planning standard. So building height exceeds the code, 55 feet, where only 35 feet is allowed. Setbacks are reduced. Parking is short by 34 spaces in a car-dependent area. Density hits 23.4 units per acre, where the ITA plan recommends 1 unit per 15 acres. This is not smart growth. It's sprawl forced into an area that's physically unsupportive of it. It poses real safety and infrastructure risks. The land has high water table and poor drainage. Stormwater relies on a shared church pond, which hasn't even been proven to be adequate and raises legal and environmental concerns. Ingress and egress is limited to George Wythe Drive. This affects emergency access and traffic safety, as you just heard. It sets a legal precedent, which is probably the most concerning. And this legal precedent weakens the green line. Councilwoman Henley said it best. If you approve it twice, it's not a mistake, it's precedent. So if you approve this, and every developer will cite it as justification to build high-density projects below the green line, you won't be able to stop the next one or the one after that. So in closing, this project is not a one-off. It's the opening of moving in. It's a slow erosion of everything the transition area that was designed to protect. And if approved again, this becomes legal precedent, and it threatens the green line citywide. So I urge you to protect our community, uphold the comprehensive plan, and if the city council ignores its own planning guidelines, the green line means nothing. And if developers can rewrite the rules, residents will lose faith in this chamber. So please vote no. So thank you all for your time and your service to our community.
The next speaker is Holly Martier, and then Gabrielle Mack.
Okay, unfortunately, I left what I was going to say in the car, but I think Dave said pretty much everything, and I don't think building anymore is going to do anything but hurt the Virginia Beach citizens. Also, you know, you're going to want to tax us more, and we don't want that either. I just wish I didn't leave it in the car. But I think it's, you know, despicable that you want to do these things, you know, and it's going to hurt the Virginia Beach citizens and the flooding and everything like that. So please just don't do it. And, you know, help the Virginia Beach citizens, not hurt us, okay? We don't want it done. We don't want taxes raised. We don't want that. And you always seem to go against us. So I'm really hoping this time you're not going to do that, and you're going to do what's best for the Virginia Beach citizens and not, you know, what you just want. You know, be considerate to us, and that's all I ask. I forgot what I was going to say in the car, so, but they've pretty much said it all. Just don't build anymore. You know, we don't need it.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Gabrielle Mack, and then Tammy Vandermeer.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, City Council members, fellow Virginia Beach residents. My name is Gabrielle Mack, and I live in Sandbridge. Most of you are used to seeing me speaking on behalf of my community, providing information and community concerns on why we opposed the landfall of high voltage cables onto Sandbridge Beach. This issue has been paused due to shifts in federal priorities, And for now, I'm quite grateful for the reprieve. But I am a member of this district, a proud member of this district, and what affects one part of our district, like the city, affects all. So today I'm here as a concerned citizen, not just as a concerned citizen, but as a mother, a grandmother, and a proud member of this district. My son, his wife, and my 3 grandchildren moved to the Princess Anne Dam Neck area because of its family-friendly environment. Strong schools like Newcastle Elementary, Lansdowne Middle, High, and High School. We have a child in each one of those schools. Access to quality health care was important because, boys, they get hurt a lot. They rough and tough, and so they wanted to make sure that that was there. There are churches in this area, and the exceptional recreational opportunities and facilities. All of my grandsons, since they were toddlers, have played soccer, and they've used the facilities in that area. This is a community built on stability, health, green space, and opportunity. We had hoped for thoughtful growth, more schools, parks, and family services, not the light industrial and high-density housing developments represented by the expansion of the proposal before you. Projects like this threaten to erode the very character of our neighborhood and exacerbate an already problematic stormwater and flooding issues, and you've heard plenty about that this evening. I stood in this room last year when many residents voiced strong opposition to the initial development. Still, the project was approved despite overwhelming public concern, with only Councilman Henley and former Councilman Taylor voting against it. Now you are being asked to approve even more units. Doing so would not only disregard the will of the community, but also undermine the careful crafted zoning and land use regulations that you yourselves put in place. And that were designed to protect the transition area and the Green Line. This proposal conflicts with all of your own stated goals and plans, especially around stormwater and flood management. Approving this proposal would set a dangerous precedent, opening the door to similar developments that could forever change the landscape of our community.
Appreciate you coming.
So we just thank you very much, and we would hope that you would consider our opinions and vote no.
The next speaker is Tammy Vandermeer, and then Greg Grubbs.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer and members of City Council. I'm Tammy Van Dame, and I've lived in Virginia Beach as a proud resident since 1995. I currently live in the villages of West Neck. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm here because we are at a tipping point. What happens south of the Green Line doesn't impact just a single neighborhood. It has citywide consequences, and nowhere is that more evident than in the issue of stormwater, as you've heard earlier. But to understand what's at stake, let's consider some facts. I did a little homework here about existing stormwater pond on the site, this pond on the site. Total drainage area, 4.21 acres. Pervious area, 3.272 acres. Impervious area, 1.183 acres, 27%. Please remember that one. Most important. This data suggests the pond was designed primarily for water quality treatment, not volume detention, consistent with a level 1 designation. Again, a little bit more research. It was never intended, this is what it means, it was never intended to handle major storm water loads, just minor runoff from a small area. In 2023, the city's own stormwater master plan flagged this area as deficient. Now we are being asked to approve development that adds more density, more impervious surface, and far more runoff on a system already stretched to its limits. It is not just poor planning. This is setting us up for failure. Let me break it down clearly. First, the proposed development nearly doubles the area draining to a pond that currently serves just 2 small buildings and a parking lot on land that was originally zoned as agricultural and later rezoned for limited development. Now we're talking about developing more than 8.5 acres, mostly of impervious surface, 6 apartment buildings, a clubhouse and a pool, and 329 parking spaces. That stormwater pond was never designed for this. And once it's overwhelmed, there is no easy fix. Second, we're already seeing flooding in nearby areas, like the Virginia Beach National Golf Club. And that's before a single unit is built. That land is in part the same drainage system that it's already vulnerable. How will it handle hundreds of more residents, rooftops, and roads? Third and most urgent is the long-term costs of this overdevelopment that will fall on us, the taxpayers. Costly retrofits, emergency repairs of flood damage to public and private property. That is not hypothetical. It is predictable and it is avoidable. This is exactly why the Green Line exists. It's not a barrier. It's a promise. If we start making exceptions, we break that promise. Once it is broken, we all pay the price. I respectfully urge you to deny these applications so future generations can look back and know that you, Mayor Dyer, and you, City Council, have honored city policy and secured their legacy by protecting the Green Line and their future. Thank you.
The next speaker is Greg Grubbs. They're Greg Grubbs.
Yeah, I'm right here on for the next.
I'm sorry, they have you down. Sorry, I apologize. You're right. So, I thought I had more. Picked up the wrong pile, I'm sorry. Rick Boyles is next, and he is representing Virginia Beach CCO.
Good evening, folks. My name is Rick Boyles, for the record. I'm a lifelong Virginia Beach resident, president of the Virginia Beach Council of Civic Organizations, president of the Thalia Civic League, small business owner. I'm here to respectfully but firmly ask you to deny this application of this expansion of this project. We are still trying to pound a square peg in a round hole. It's a good project, good company, wrong location. The Green Line is not negotiable on a case-by-case basis. It's a line. It's like the Norfolk City line and the Virginia Beach City line. We're not supposed to cross it. In 1979, the city drew the Green Line to separate urban development from the rural transition area. The line has real meaning. It's a foundation. As you've heard from other speakers, it's a promise to the public that you're going to uphold a certain level of conduct. The original 2023 Silos application already crossed that line. If we let this go through, we're going to cross that line again. You're breaking the promise that you've made to the city of Virginia Beach, that the councils before you have made to the city of Virginia Beach residents, and that is currently included in the draft 2040 comprehensive plan. This Green Line support is still in the comp plan as of this moment today. Allowing this project to go forward starts to erode public trust in this body. And I think it's important that this body continue to earn public trust. Last time we were in here, back in October 2023, over 400 people showed up. They told you that they didn't think the project was a good location. The density on this project, if you recall, this thing made it out of Planning Commission, through Planning Commission, and had to be withdrawn and taken back again because it was determined later that half of this project was in the inter-facility traffic area. So we've moved all the apartments to half of that land. And while people want to talk about density numbers, they're averaging the density numbers. In reality, you're putting 176 apartments on 3.47 acres. If you do the math, it's over 50 units per acre. Way too dense, especially for an A18 zoning. The applicants claimed that they were going to apply for the workforce housing program with housing and neighborhood preservation. That never happened. I sent Ruthie Hill, the director, a message earlier today. I have not gotten a response back. To the best of my knowledge, they have still not applied for the workforce housing program. So we're making a bunch of promises, but there's no follow through by this applicant on what they're promising to do. In addition to buying the 2.3 acres, they're tapping into the church's stormwater pond, as you just heard from Ms. Van Dame, a 6-unit with 24 more apartments. We have to ask, was the pond engineered to do this? Can it be re-engineered to handle the runoff? All of these are issues that probably need to be solved before this application is approved, as opposed to trying to solve them after the fact. The TAITA Citizens Action Committee has flagged this as a problem in numerous documents that they've got. Parking, the parking, while we have granted a deviation in the parking to reduce the spaces by 39 or whatever the number is, it's important to remember that the layout on the project is going to have all the parking on half of the ITA line and the apartments all on the other side. It is 1/8 of a mile from the farthest parking space to the farthest apartment. Can you imagine your son, daughter, grandkids, or whatever schlepping kids and groceries 1/8 of a mile from the farthest reaches of this parking lot over to their apartment if they happen to live in the other corner? It's not reasonable. We also have to worry about Oceana. We are councils back in the Meyer-Oberndorf era allowed all the development to happen in the AP1 zones around the end of Oceana. We're now playing loosely with this green line and starting to allow development to move back in that direction again. We almost lost Oceana in BRAC 2005. Not holding this line is not a good idea. We're going to end up with the federal government back down here want to take Oceana away. Then we're going to have a lot of developable land, nobody to live in the apartments that we can build there, though. So, again, this is trust thing. The citizens in this room, the 460,000 citizens of the city of Virginia Beach are trusting you folks to make the right decision. Approving this project today is not the right decision. Ideally, it would move north of the green line. That's probably not going to happen, but there's probably some more work that can be done on this application that might make it a little more digestible or palatable to the citizens of the city. We're asking for zoning changes, density bonuses, stormwater workarounds involving another property, waivers or variances for setback, height, parking, and who knows what other handful of other variances, deviations that we're looking for here. And we now want to withdraw all of those proffers, all of those promises we made in 2023. We want to say, nah, forget about that. That's off the table. We want to throw those away. We want to start this whole thing all over again. The project violates our green line policy, stormwater infrastructure planning standards, ACUs, ITA protection zone, and our citizens' trust in the planning process and the city council process. You've got a choice that you're going to make tonight to either approve it and let it move forward, maybe defer it, and let's look at it a little deeper. Anything below the green line, is suspect. And if we don't like the green line, well, then let's have some referendums and some public meetings, and let's move the green line. I'm not exactly a favor of that, but if we want to build in these areas, let's move the lines so that we can do what we want to do in these areas as a city. And my final comment probably is Judge Smith made a ruling in the 10-1 voting case last week or the week before. If all of y'all intend to sit in these seats again the next election, some of y'all are going to be running at large, and you might want to keep that in mind. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The next speaker is Kenneth McSpadden. Kenneth McSpadden. Mr. McSpadden is representing the Princess Anne Crossing Civic Association.
Make your seats wider. More space for the seats.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of the council, Vice Mayor, Mayor. My name is Ken McSpadden, and I represent Princess Anne Crossing Civic Association. Our neighborhood is directly behind the Burns farm, right across from the old high school, and I represent 80 families. I'm here to express the concerns regarding the Silo 2 project. I'm going to use the same name that we used back in 23. It's the Silo 2 all over again. Franklin Johnson is resubmitting their plans to proceed with the Silo 2 project. The plan provided is to rectify issues that were brought up during that first submission, which obviously somebody's not listening to. This revised plan adds 24 additional units to the original 176. And I'm going like, you've got to be kidding. Unfortunately, no amount of makeup will make this plan any better. None. I mean, you can put lipstick on a pig, and it ain't going to look good. And this definitely does not look good. Workforce housing will still be out of the reach of the first responders, nurses, and teachers. Besides, they don't have enough workforce housing units to meet the demand. Let's face it. I don't know what they're thinking of, but doesn't work for me. Traffic improvements will need to be sufficient to handle the additional vehicles, not to mention the infrastructure that's going to have to be needed to handle the emergency vehicles. As I pointed out in the 23 meeting back there in October, emergency vehicles, you got a hook and ladder coming in. It's got those stabilizer bars that have to come out. And if you only got 329 parking lots and you've got 200 units and you can figure 2 cars per unit, because it's going to take 2 parents if they've got a family, or should we say people that are sharing their apartments, ain't going to work. It's just too far. I know the fire department has said, oh, yeah, it's good. And I know that the Navy has said, yeah, it's good. We can fly over it, no problem. I live there. Let me tell you, they're noisy. I love the sound of freedom, but not a lot of people do. The stormwater retention pond will not be able to handle the runoff. Franklin Johnson Group believes that using a combined retention pond with the church is going to solve the problem. It won't. The developer is going to be removing the trees, putting in larger parking lots, and then that were originally proposed. And the plan was to try and pump the stormwater all the way up to the point where it would re-enter in the North Landing River. Can you imagine that? You know how far that is? That's insane. Not only imagine that, but let's face it. The environmental study that goes with that will take 5 years before they can even get it done. Common sense means that all in all, there are too many negatives for PACA to support this plan. Please don't rubber stamp this project. Thank you.
Ted Quinter, and he is representing the Browningstone Condominium Association.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Mayor Dyer, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Ted Quinter. I'm a retired Marine pilot and a president of the Browningstone Village Condominium at Villages at West Neck. Along with many others who have spoken or who will speak, my community has concerns about the expansion of the Silo project. The project was approved without citizen support to provide dense apartment-style workforce housing below the Green Line. It was a clear violation of the spirit and intent of the Green Line, the transition area guidelines. And it's also probably, based on what we've heard tonight, going to be affordable for those who need the work housing. The project sits not only south of the Green Line, but it's, as was reported, it's at the margin of the ITA, the interfacility traffic area. That was borne by BRAC in 2005 when they were thinking about closing Oceana. Among other things, the ITA master plan calls for low density development within the ITA, minimizing residential exposure. The Silo project did not, in our mind, qualify as low density, and adding additional units to it only exacerbates the density problem. The ITA runs roughly from Oceana Runway 22 to about the center of Fentress. Doesn't have any boundary lines on the ground or in the air, so the planes fly wherever they want to fly. Jets rarely depart Oceana and go straight southwest along the runway line. They go, when they're flying out to the warning area, they climb and go left. When they're going to Fentress, they seldom get above 500 feet. And because Fentress is straight ahead, they want to line up on the runway. They will generally veer out to the east over the area where this project is going to be. Although Oceana local area flight rules require higher transits above ground level in the ITA, during the transition to Fentress, the F-18EF, EFs and Gs often fly at or below 500 feet HEL. This more often than not will put their flight path very near the Silo apartment project on the east side of the ITA and at below 500 feet. The current F-18s with upgraded engines is significantly louder than the earlier models of the F-18. But the engines of its scheduled replacement, the F-35, I'm told, are a magnitude of order louder. The AQ's noise compatibility of this project will become much more suspect as the F-35 is introduced. I speak on behalf of 157 residents and 108 homes in the Browning-Stone condominium. We are all supporters of the transition area rules and the guidelines, and we implore you, council members, to vote no and disapprove this expansion of the Silo project. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
The next speaker is David Kanzi. And then Diana Hicks.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is David Conzi. I live in West Neck and Virginia Beach, and I support what the previous speakers have been talking about, but I won't reiterate the standing of the Green Line and the disregard of the regulations and everything else. However, I would like to bring to your attention, as a matter of public knowledge, that Franklin Group has donated $28,000 to your campaign, sir, $28,500 to Mrs. Wilson's, $7,500 to Mr. Cummings, Mr. Schulman, and Mr. Green, $5,000 to, or Mr. Remick had $3,000. So I'm asking you to, in light of that information, either vote no or recuse yourself as a matter of public interest. Thank you for your attention.
The next speaker is Diana Hicks. And Ms. Hicks is representing is the chair of the TA-ITA committee.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer and members of City Council. My name is Diana Hicks, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the council this evening. As chairperson for the Transition Area ITA Citizens Advisory Committee, and on behalf of the committee, it is my responsibility to advise the City Council on matters impacting land use in the TA, ITA, and below the Green Line. On June 10th, the CAC submitted its advisory letter to the council, listing its objections and reasons for recommending denial of these three applications. To evaluate this proposal, we had to consider many things: the realities of the land itself, along with the related planning documents and policies that have been approved by council with public input year after year and decade after decade. There are many constraints below the Green Line, and they can't be ignored or set aside. These foundational principles, plans, and policies include the Southern Rivers watershed as a vital environmental resource. We must do our part to protect it. This part of the city is filled with wetlands and poorly draining soil. The rural and agricultural community needs to be protected, and the transition area below the Green Line is the buffer that serves that purpose and provides that protection. The joint land use study that resulted in the BRAC agreement and the ITA ACUS overlay restricts land use, and there are ramifications for noncompliance and overdevelopment. The city is already slated to spend over $1 billion taxpayer dollars to mitigate flooding and drainage impacts to the already built environment. We cannot afford to further exacerbate this problem. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will soon be providing their plan of action to address sea level rise and impacts from flooding, drainage, and subsidence with preliminary estimates for remediation in the billions. The Dewberry Study is a long-standing, understood, and well-known report that has studied the land in this area and has told us what we can and should do here. This application does not fit those standards. You've adopted the sea level rise report, the master tree canopy, and all of these things are being set aside for this application. It's very difficult to understand. You've heard from many speakers tonight. They've been focused on specific issues. You've heard some repeated a few times. That should send you the message that people care about these things, that these are important, and they aren't up for just discretionary disposal. You've also heard about big picture and far-reaching concerns over the degradation of the Green Line. The previous speakers have detailed the problems, impacts, and exceptions found in the current proposal. They've told you about height variances, setback variances, excessive density, open space limitations, tree canopy loss, traffic and safety implications, parking variances, stormwater and flooding items, jet noise. You've heard about the workforce housing overlay. I just want you to consider what you're getting ready to make a vote on. In exchange for awarding 46 additional units to the applicant for a workforce housing at their stated application of 80% AMI, as explained by the previous speakers, the allowable rent determined by the workforce housing program that will be used to determine what they are allowed to charge for rents is less than $100 lower than the market rate. My question to you is, does this truly address the housing problem in Virginia Beach? Because the last time this project came around and 176 units were approved to be placed on just over 3 acres of land, there was a very big discussion about affordable housing and how you were going to attempt to provide the city with solutions. This is not the solution you promised, nor is it the one we are looking for. Any development that requires this many exceptions undeniably demonstrates precisely why this level of development is unsuitable below the Green Line. And to what end? 200 luxury apartments crammed on 8 acres below the Green Line. I'm not sure if any of you can actually feel proud about that, but I definitely won't be. This collection of applications unequivocally impacts the land, but it has even more deleterious and far-reaching impacts on how our city grows and develops and how decisions are made. This is an example of enabling exceptions, establishing unsustainable, unwarranted, and unwanted precedents. In 2023, hundreds of citizens representing thousands more brought a long list of reasoned concerns and specific requests that you not break with policy. 2 years later, the applications in front of you are being promoted as an improvement. Please do not ask us to believe that expanding urban sprawl below the Green Line is somehow an improvement. The question on the table is not whether this proposal improves on the 2023 applications that were already approved. It is whether you are going to vote for even more impervious surface, more density, more stormwater and flooding complications, while discounting open space expectations in the transition area, reducing vital tree canopy, and allowing urban sprawl, despite directly violating the intent of the Green Line and our comp plan. The Green Line is a promise of fiscal integrity, environmental responsibility, and rural preservation embedded in our comprehensive planning documents. The Green Line is the best growth management tool that we have, and this city is lucky to have it. It's lucky to be where it is today. The Green Line redirects development pressure towards strategic infill and corridor revitalization north of the Green Line and in the SGAs. The entire 2040 draft comprehensive plan is predicated on this goal. It has been advertised, promoted, and marketed by the consultant and the staff to serve that purpose. Are we already undermining this critical objective and plan centerpiece? The Green Line supports agriculture. It reduces flood risk and upholds public trust. Our farmers, the land they farm, and our agricultural economy are vital to our local, state, national, and global economies and food sourcing. We have every reason to protect that. This type of application and development encroaches upon that and is irresponsible. Everyone on this council should make the agricultural and rural and farming and the land below the green line a priority. Growth must be smart, sustainable, and solvent, and that means north of the green line. I realize that you've heard a lot of these things tonight, and I did want to summarize them for you. I think the thing that baffles me the most is why we are willing to set aside so many items in return for this one application. It is baffling to me. Mayor Dyer, I often hear you state that the people of Virginia Beach are what makes this a great place to live. I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's the people. And I'm here to tell you that the citizens of Virginia Beach have spoken. They want smarter growth, environmental protection, cost control, and no more stormwater problems. They want the green line to remain intact, continuing to successfully serve our city as it has for the past 45 years. The reality is that time and time again, this has been reaffirmed by the people. I respectfully ask that you deny the applications in front of you, respecting the citizens you represent and exercising restraint here in the TA and the ITA, where the land demands it. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Donna Seiler, and then we're going to move to WebEx speakers. Ms. Seiler.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Donna Siller, and I live in Christopher Farms. Christopher Farms is the neighborhood that is directly across from this proposed project, the silo, across Princess Anne Road. And I've lived there since 2001. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but after hearing so much about the flooding and concerns for stormwater, I feel really compelled to share my personal story. I've lived in Christopher Farms since 2001. I've been stuck in my house because of the flooding. My neighborhood floods. If a storm's coming up, you better get home because you won't be able to safely get into the neighborhood. This happened to me several years ago when I couldn't get out of work in time. I ended up having to stay at a hotel because the roads were flooded, couldn't get in or out on Holland Road or Princess Anne Road. Unfortunately, my house that's only 30 years old is sinking. I understand that Christopher Farms was built, I think it's called the Holland Road Swamp, used to be a swamp, and the silo project was also a swamp. I'm a 5-minute walk from the silo, so I'm right close. And I bring that up because it's really not smart to build on former swampland. My house, like I said, is 30 years old. It's sinking. My dining room is on a slope. I have spent over $35,000 to put the foundation. People came and they lifted it up. It's still not great. And my house is right in front of where the sewer is and 4 houses down from our retention pond. So I guess I want to share my experience that the flooding in our area is very real. And I just want to ask you to oppose the silo project and its extension, the Keeling Wood. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Mayor, we have 2 WebEx speakers. The first WebEx speaker is Kim Mayo. Ms. Mayo, you are unmuted and may begin.
Good evening. I'm calling in to express opposition. Thank you, citizens following on Facebook and Mrs. Barnes for helping me sign up on short notice. The current land use plan and adopted city policies on the Green Line should have been followed. Like many, I remember October 2023 when hundreds of citizens, including VBCCO president, signed up in opposition to silos at Southern Pines, but were ignored except by Honorable Chris Taylor and Mrs. Henley. And now the city wants to make this density project even bigger. We have a respectable school board, but our city council has some bad apples. I rarely speak before City Council, but want to remind everyone it was my District 9 Councilman Josh Schulman who made the substitute motion for approval for the silos to pave the Green Line. Like a gentleman said, he took a big campaign donation, but didn't bother to recuse himself on silos. Later, Schulman would put forth the expensive CIP, spending $12 million to destroy over 5,000 trees at our land, Pleasure House Point, sparking outrage from people of all backgrounds. When I brought up facts about campaign contributions last time I spoke before council in January, Michael Berlucci, who supported Josh and isn't loyal to his own party, awkwardly threw a tantrum on the dais, harassing public speakers. Why such a defensive reaction? Mr. Berlucci was also part of the Pleasure House Point working group. His voting record shows he doesn't care about our property rights and can't relate to the joy a child feels in a forest he helped destroy, or respect the Green Line, trees, or open space. To citizens listening, very little will change with this current City Council. Some of you have called for FBI and Attorney General investigations. I've seen up close representatives who lie to our residents as a civic leader and are totally lacking in integrity and moral compass, so feel compelled to speak. They've manipulated our environmental studies high school students and would throw their own grandmother under the bus in pursuit of money and their own advancement while cozying up to their developer handlers. We need to keep showing up and call them out, and not just on social media. My message is one of hope and redemption. We must elect a new city councilman in my District 9 and most other districts to prevent further harm to our environment and community. Let's take back Virginia Beach for the good citizens here. Thank you.
The next WebEx speaker is Jessica Windish. Ms. Windish, you are unmuted and may begin. Ms. Windish, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I was trying to unmute myself. My apologies.
Go ahead. You may begin.
Awesome. I'm speaking as a resident of Princess Anne Crossing, directly across from the development, and I will see this every day should it come to fruition. I have heard several times recently the Virginia Beach City Council and other VB departments pride themselves on collecting public input, applying that input, and following policies that are in place that were previously agreed upon by our community. Additionally, they absolutely want the public to have faith that the decisions made are in the best interest of the city now and into the future. Approving these items is not congruent in any way with that message. It is exactly the opposite. Approving these requests is telling the public that following policies in place and following professional recommendations is not your legal or moral obligation. You are also saying that public input is less significant than your desire to support profit generation or to associate your name with a hot topic like affordable housing as an electoral strategy. The only people here tonight in support of this project are those that will benefit financially from the project. There is not even a potential renter here asking for this. Although you have heard this already, I will point out two significant assaults on our community that this project will inflict, as it does not honor the current comprehensive plan that includes the interfacility traffic area and vicinity master plan, nor the transition area design guidelines, nor the promise of honoring the Green Line. All were developed with support of the unique needs of this environment and the unique space it occupies in our city between suburban and rural areas. Those are a lack of open space and a reduction in tree canopy. Open space is a foundational requirement for development in the TA-ITA. It is intended to serve multiple purposes, including a buffer from suburban development and to protect the environment and the flood-prone land that exists in this area. It offers recreational amenities to citizens as well. The minor garden that this project proposes and existence of a required stormwater pond is not open space on this densely packed development proposal. It is an unacceptable it is unacceptable that this basic requirement in the TA-ITA has been omitted from this project. This will cause greater issues as the ratio
from developed space to open space is not favorable. We know that maintaining a tree canopy is a significant part of maintaining a well-functioning ecosystem. Trees absorb groundwater, they create habitats, and they prevent the degradation of soil. As a matter of fact, Virginia Beach feels so strongly about this, we have a policy of replacing any lost or removed trees on public property. Additional tree canopy loss and any needed mitigation is not included in this proposal. The current tree canopy will have to be removed to make way for all of the buildings, the parking, and the expanded stormwater pond. Younger, less valuable trees will be sprinkled throughout the property and will not serve the environment in the way that the current tree canopy does. This is a crucial element when developing in this part of the city, particularly with the already intense tree loss that we've incurred below the green line. Approving these items is a big mistake, even with even more consequences. I urge you to say no, especially if you want the public to have faith in you, as we will cast our vote accordingly in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Beeman, would you like to come up for rebuttal? Mr. Beeman. You'll hold for questions? Okay. Mayor, that's all the speakers.
Okay, Ms. Hunley, could I have a motion?
Well, there's so much. I do want to turn on my microphone, don't I? There is so much that has been well said about this application tonight, and I appreciate all of you who have come down to show your interest in this area and in the future for the city, particularly District 2. I won't just repeat what has been said, but I am going to confine my remarks to the findings that City Council must make in order to act on this application and the requested variances. First, the City Council must make a finding that the application is in compliance with the city's comprehensive plan. City staff has found that the application is in compliance with the comp plan, but I have to respectfully disagree. I've read the materials in our agenda several times in ways, and unless I missed it, I could not find the words green lines anywhere in the reports. Certainly the policies of the Green Line are critical to development in the transition area and Princess Anne Commons area of the city. For about 3 decades, the urban services boundary, which is designated the Green Line, has set the policies for where development will be directed as it moves south. The intent is that development will be directed to that part of the city that has necessary infrastructure in place or planned for the near future. The strategic growth areas are those areas most ripe for development. This area is not a strategic growth area. It was declared a special economic growth area when the City Council created what was hoped and planned to be a biomedical park, which would have been what the SEGA name says, a special economic growth area. That is very different from those areas designed for more urban-style residential development, which is what the strategic growth areas are. The transition area of the city is exactly what the name says. It is that area where we transition from an urban-suburban development to the rural area as the developments gradually become less dense. This property falls within the Princess Anne Commons planning area and partially within the interfacility traffic area. And that plan states that residential density within the ITA should be limited to 1 unit per 15 acres. This proposal before us today is for A18 with density bonuses, which bring the per acre density to 23.4 units per acre. I have to respectfully disagree with another opinion of the staff. The interpretation of staff that one of the key recommendations of the ITA plan for the municipal center is the need to introduce a mix of residential units into the district to, quote, enliven the complex, create a consistent pedestrian network, and provide attainable housing for city workers, end quote. The map on page 5 of the ITA plan is clearly misinterpreted. This project's dense development is located way up Princess Anne Road at the intersection of Currycomb. The 3 on that ITA map in that area designated the Biomedical Park, clearly a place that development was anticipated. The map on page 5, which is cited in our report, clearly designates the historical area as Area 1, and it is that area where the original courthouse was located on the corner of Princess Anne and North Landing Road. The Municipal Center is number 2 and completes the corner from the historical area up to Nemo Parkway. The area which was thought to be a possible place for more density at some point in the future was only that area in the core of that designated as the Municipal Center along George Mason Drive. I remember well when the discussion of the ITA led to including that brief reference as a possibility for maybe some multifamily housing where those parking lots are now, if the city ever decided to build a parking garage there. I did not favor including that recommendation because I said it might lead to some misunderstanding of what was being recommended. I think we now have that misunderstanding and a gross misinterpretation of the comp plan. I do not believe that this proposed development comes anywhere close to being in compliance with their adopted comprehensive plan. There are 3 variances being requested which require City Council findings. 1 to reduce the required parking, 1 to allow a substantial increase in height, and 1 to allow a reduced setback from the roadway. According to ordinance, the zoning administrator may reduce the parking requirement when a, quote, substantial number of patrons or pedestrians are arrived by means of public transportation or by bicycle, end quote. The zoning administrator has determined that while 363 parking spaces are typically required for a multifamily development of this size, the reduction to the minimum number of required spaces from 363 to 329 spaces is justified, 34 fewer spaces. The zoning administrator determined that pedestrian and bicycle facilities are provided along Princess Anne Road and Nemo Parkway, which provide access to the municipal complex and, quote, several shopping areas within a few miles of the site, end quote. I have difficulty envisioning a mother pedaling her bicycle with her groceries and a child in her lap. As far as the availability of public transportation, I have only been able to identify one bus route, Route 33 of HRT bus service, which runs once an hour. I'm not sure how many hours per day or if it has weekend service. I guess if you happen to miss the bus and you're an hour late to work, I wonder just how many times an employer is going to put up with that. I think everybody who lives in this place will require a car, and I think they need all of those parking spaces. There must be a height variance granted. The maximum building height in A18 zoned apartments is 35 feet. However, the proposed 3-story buildings are 48 feet tall, and the 4-story buildings are 55 feet, exceeding the height limit by up to 20 feet. The ordinance states that, quote, the City Council may, for good cause shown, and upon a finding that there will be no significant detrimental effects on surrounding properties, accept proper conditions reasonably deviated from the setback, lot coverage, landscaping, and minimum lot area requirements and height restriction otherwise applicable to the proposed development. but no such deviation shall be in conflict with the applicable provisions of the comprehensive plan, end quote. Since this would be a substantial increase in height with no other similar properties that high in this area, I have no reason to see that this complies with the area. The same for the setback of only 20 feet from the roadway rather than 30 feet on George Wythe. There has to be a good reason which separates this property from the other like properties in the area, and no reason has been supplied. I also think that the comprehensive plan envisions this area as a less dense area, so I question that compliance. Another concern that I have about this development involves safety. This parcel is 8.56 acres in size and will have on it 200 living units. That will be 200 families with their cars and pickups on this property. An 8.5 acre tract of land is not very big. There will be one entrance exit, and as I look at the site plan, I see very little area for maneuverability and very little open space. I think about possibly one night when everyone is at home sleeping and their vehicles have filled up the parking spaces and there's a fire. I know that the fire department has said the plan is acceptable, but how in the world will a ladder truck maneuver on that site? I believe that multifamily will have 2 ladder trucks respond, and goodness knows how many other fire and rescue vehicles. Station 5 doesn't have a ladder, so I guess one of the trucks will come from Station 21, and I don't know where the other one will come from. How are they all going to be able to move around on this crowded 8.5 acre site? I know we've got a good fire department and they'll figure it out, but I can't think it's going to be ideal. I could go on and on. Drainage is a major concern on this property, which has poorly draining soils and a high water table. The water coming off this site has to get to the North Landing River, which is quite a ways away. Initially, this will be constructed by the developer, but all of those drainage ditches between here and the river are going to have to be maintained by the public forevermore. Yes, we need housing, but we needs to be in the right place. This is not the place that has been planned for this type of development. And if we put it here, it's going to create major problems as we try to reconfigure our CIP to provide the infrastructure that it will need. In this last budget, we saw the effect of inflation on our road projects, and I don't think our citizens can withstand the future cost of what will have to be built if we deviate from our comprehensive plan. Given the lack of compliance with the comprehensive plan and no justifiable show cause for deviations from parking requirements, height restrictions, and setbacks, I move for denial of these applications.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? The motion is for denial.
The motion is to deny, so thank you.
Okay. Okay, Josh.
I just have a quick question of staff, if you don't mind. Is it my understanding, though, that if we deny this, they can still build on the 6 acres at the 5-story height? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's open the vote. Motion is to deny. A yes vote will deny.
The vote is open. Vice Mayor Wilson, I need your vote, please. Thank you. By a vote of 2 to 9, this motion is denied. So the motion to deny was denied.
Okay, folks, please, let's have decorum. Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve it.
Okay.
And
Josh?
I'll second.
Okay.
One
Okay,
sec.
folks, could we please have order and civility, please? Folks, please. Just wait another minute or two. Okay, we have a motion to approve from Mr. Schulman and a second by Mr. Bellucci. Are there any comments prior to the vote? Stacy.
Mr. Mayor, yes, I'd like to make some comments. First, I'd like to say that because you were against the first silo project isn't a reason to deny this application. I came here, I did not vote on the first application. I was a member of council at the time. And I don't know exactly how I would have voted because I didn't hear all of the comments for and against because it is a public process. And I believe the public has a right to be heard. And I didn't hear that, so I can't say how I would have voted. But I do know that that initial application was approved and they have the right to go ahead and develop that project. Tonight, pretty much all the discussion that I heard against these three applications appeared to be more a second bite at the apple. The comments that were made were about how the original project was not compatible and should not have been approved. And that's not why we're here tonight. Tonight, we're here to talk about these three applications and how they fit. Some made the comment that this is not about workforce housing. Well, I have to disagree. These applications allow for 24 additional units. All 24 additional units are workforce housing units. So there is a clear indication that the developer has workforce housing in mind with these added units. The application as it's been submitted, in my mind, only betters the overall project. The overall project improves stormwater, which is a condition of Proffer 5, where the existing stormwater pond servicing the church will have to be improved and increased to accommodate the additional units that are being built, plus the church's stormwater needs. It eliminates the entry from Princess Anne Avenue, Princess Anne Road, which in my mind makes it a safer entryway and egressway. It allows for more green space in the whole project, and there's more space between buildings. Also, the added 24 units will have no major adverse effect on the school systems. And I really don't see how these added 24 units are a detriment to the area, to the neighborhood, and to this overall project. I think this has been well thought out, that the additional 24 units are a benefit to the community, to our city. They're talking about that this is not the right place for this workforce housing. Well, all of these units in this project are within walking distance of the municipal center. And our city is in desperate need, our city workers are in desperate need of affordable housing. This accommodates that. I don't know how people could turn their back and say workforce housing is not needed in this area. It's desperately needed in this area. I think that it's as a standalone project, it would be a hands down yes. And I think that it only improves the overall project, and therefore I support the applications as they stand.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else at this point? Okay, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Mayor, Councilmember Jackson Green. Mayor, I need your vote, please.
Here we go.
Thank you. By a vote of 9 to 2, you've approved application planning items number 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is 4 and 5. Four and 5?
Yes, the first speaker is the applicant, John Rudis. Is there John Rudis in the room? Are they on WebEx by chance? John Rudis, which is the applicant. Yes, 4 and 5. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's who I have down as the applicant. Mr. Beeman didn't sign up with me.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, for the record, Rob Beeman with the Troutman Pepperlock Law Firm here today on behalf of the applicant CFT NV Developments LLC, which is an affiliate of Panda Express. I'm joined this evening by Mike Everidge, who is the Executive Director of Real Estate for Panda Express, together with several of our consultants and also representatives from the Virginia Beach Beacon Baptist Church, which is the owner of the property that's the subject of this application. This application, as I mentioned, involves the site of the Virginia Beach Beacon Baptist Church, which is approximately 5 acres located on Nemo Parkway, just east of General Booth Boulevard between the Red Mill Commons and Red Mill Landing shopping centers. The church is not currently using all 5 of its acres and would like to sell approximately the eastern half of the site to the applicant for the proposed restaurant uses. The church would remain in place on the western part of the site, although the church site would be reduced below the 3-acre threshold required under the zoning ordinance. The church would retain access and parking easements over the southern portion of the commercial area, and so would have the use of approximately 3 acres of the site. Additionally, the first iteration of the design of the site left the church with a full 3-acre parcel. However, that would have required a subdivision variance related to minimum lot frontage along Newstead Drive. And understandably, the staff encouraged the applicant to move forward in this direction, which would not require a subdivision variance. Since the property is located along a major commercial corridor directly adjacent to several commercial shopping centers and is located in the 65 to 70 elevated noise zone, it seems well suited for the restaurant uses that are proposed by the applicant. The applicant does understand that the site abuts several residential properties to the south and has carefully designed the site so it will not adversely affect these properties. First, the applicant has placed the restaurant buildings up towards the northern portion of the site, so the bulk of the commercial activity will take place up close to the commercial intersection of Nemo and Newstead. Secondly, the applicant has proffered a Category 4 evergreen landscape buffer and an 8-foot opaque fence along the southern boundary line to provide additional screening and buffering. And third, the applicant has reserved parking spaces in the southern portion of the site only for the exclusive use of the church, so they'd only be available for the church use on Sundays and during church events during the week. Finally, the applicant has also agreed to restrict hours of operation of the restaurants on the site from 9 to 11 and hours of dumpster emptying from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
It's important to note that each of these conditions and design criteria are included in the proffered conditions in the proffered site plan and will control the development and operation of the restaurant pads moving forward. With that, we thank you very much for your consideration of our application, and we'll stand by for questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Greg Grubbs. After Mr. Grubbs is Dennis Gronseth.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Captain Greg Grubbs, United States Navy. There are 8 families on the street directly behind the proposed Panda Express and restaurant to be named later. My family is among 4 of those families of decorated veterans. We're often thanked for our service, and we appreciate it, and we hope that it's more than lip service. We simply ask that our wishes are respected, as yours would be. I doubt you'd entertain the idea of a Panda Express being built at the opening of one of your neighborhoods. Especially if there was already a Panda Express roughly 5 miles down the road, and there were roughly a dozen vacant commercial spaces in the 3 strip malls that are within a quarter mile of the proposed site. The proposal violates zoning code 240.1 alpha, requiring churches to maintain 3 acres of property. The proposal is not reasonable and does not make sense. It's irresponsible to approve a permit for a restaurant whose appearance is not in keeping with the surroundings. And it's extremely irresponsible to approve a permit for a restaurant that the applicant can't even name what the second of the 2 restaurants is going to be. I'm respectfully requesting advocacy for the wishes of the 15% of decorated veterans who choose to remain in the city after their orders have expired. And let us keep our neighborhood as it is, and please disapprove the proposal. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to the city.
Thank you for coming.
The next speaker is Dennis Gronseth. And then John Sosha. We can get you a handheld microphone, sir, if you'd like. Might be a little bit easier for you. Give us just 1 second. Turn the microphone on the lectern off. Maybe that'll help.
No, you're good to go. Is that microphone back on? Thank you.
Good evening. It's almost past my bedtime. Mr. Mayor, the first time I talked in this room was at the planning, and I did a real personal thing. I went through all the over $200,000 of improvements that we did to the house, and we also talked about how much our property values are going to go down. It's going to be almost 50%. And that's what we've heard from really smart people. And so if we do lose, there's a few things I'd like to get over. It's the so-called sound barriers that they're putting up. Okay, first of all, I should have said this in the beginning. I'm a retired senior chief electronic warfare guy. And I did that same work for
20 years and then 21 years following as a civilian. And I've worked in the anechoic chamber. If you need me to spell it, I will. ANECHOIC. And I know a lot about dBs. I've been doing decibels all my naval career. And when I saw a picture at the planning board, it looked like a piece of lattice work. And it looked like it was made out of fiberglass. Well, that's not going to stop any sound. A sound has to have you have to know the frequencies that you're going to stop. You're going to have to know the wavelength, and that's pretty easy to figure out from the frequency. And you need to know the shape and the material that's been used that will actually stop that sound from getting. And I have not heard of any of that. And for your information, the sound of what we hear is from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. I've only used it once in my naval career, and that's when we were doing the LRAD, long-range acoustic device that's out in ships now. They're talking to people that don't have radios and stuff. That's the only time I ever used it for sound. I've used it mostly from HF all the way up to infrared, and I was really good at it. The second thing I want to, and I don't know if what's the process to hold their feet to the fire to make sure they put those sound barriers behind I don't know what that is. And if they need help in developing this, we can. The other thing what I've found is like a fallacy. They quoted a $700,000 house that was sold somewhere in our neighborhood. And trying to say that our property values won't go down. Excuse me?
Yes, sir. Your time is up. Does anybody have any questions to the gentleman? Okay, thank you, sir. We'll address the sound barrier.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I can make it. Look. You retired Navy? Army? Okay, so you can push it.
The next speaker is John Sosha, and then Ellis Brooks. John Sosha.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, Mr. Sosha is a consultant for the applicant. He's available for questions.
Okay. Ellis Brooks.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name's Norman Ellis Brooks. I reside at 2317 Newstead Drive, which is located on the corner of Newstead and Glen Burnie, which is right across the street from where Dennis lives. His house backs up to that property that's going to be built on. We, along with other residents, my wife and I, residing in the Nema Courts area, do not support the modification of conditional religious use and rezoning the R20 residential district to conditional B2 business district portion of the church property. By rezoning this property and allowing two fast food restaurant type businesses next to our properties are highly unreasonable actions and will affect our living conditions and will most definitely negatively impact property values. 10 years ago, we faced this same evolution when they attempted to put an Aldi's grocery store there. And at that time, I developed a PowerPoint presentation and an information sheet that 19 of the 22 residents in the Nemacolts area objected to that proposal at that time, and they signed that document. And I know that if we reviewed that and I went to all these residents again, that they would object to rezoning this property. Prior to the planning board, several other residents, along with myself, met with Dr.
Kwasny at that time, and we presented that presentation to her, and that was taken before the Planning Commission. Our concerns then and now were property values, increased traffic, increased noise, delivery trucks, garbage trucks, dumpsters, odors, rodents, and rats, which we already have from the mall across the street. Last month, I submitted via email to each of you members my comments and a PowerPoint presentation. A copy of that also went to each of the Planning Commission members, and I'm hoping that each of you read that and took that into consideration, because it addresses my concerns and all the other residents in Nemo Courts area and across in the Red Mill across from Nemo Courts. Lastly, I don't believe any of the members here would want this establishment in their backyard. I don't think any of you council members would either vote to have this in your backyard. And that's what it's going to be in Dennis's backyard. And the house next to him that just went up for sale, I don't foresee it selling and them getting the amount of money that they want because of the property that's going to be put up behind those two units. So it's my concern, and I respectfully request and plead that the city council vote and deny rezoning.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming.
Mr. Beeman, do you have rebuttal?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council. Just one point of clarification. The buffer we discussed, the 8-foot opaque fence and the Category 4 evergreen landscaping are included on the proffered site plan, and there's even a type of fence specified on that. So I wanted to let everybody know it is in the proffers and it can be enforced by the city zoning administrator. Thank you very much.
Okay, is that
That's all the
it?
speakers, sir.
Do I have a motion?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. I'd like to ask the planning staff about the church property. I know they're going to have less than 3 acres left, but it's my understanding, I was told that the staff asked them to take, the Panda folks to take a little bit more for this project. Is that the case?
Yes, that's the case. The initial layout showed a small flag portion of the church property connecting to Newstead. But if that was part of the church property, then the frontage would be measured along Newstead and they would require a subdivision variance. They wouldn't have the appropriate frontage for the lot. So staff felt like it was most appropriate for the church to convey the 2.4 acres into the restaurant parcels.
So we're not violating any codes then?
There's still a lot deviation, a lot size deviation for the church. Instead of 3 acres, it would be 2.5 acres.
Okay, thank you. So about the sound, and Rob, I don't know, I have a soft voice too, so I get it. And a lot of the speakers, we didn't have a problem, but we did have a problem hearing you about what you were saying about the sound barrier.
Sure, about in the southern portion.
I guess it's not really a sound barrier, it's a fence.
That's correct. It's a Category 4 evergreen landscape buffer with evergreen trees and then an 8-foot opaque fence that would be located along the southern property line. Yes, ma'am.
So with the landscaping, is there landscaping on both sides of the fence or just on one side?
We have proposed landscaping on both sides of the fence with the larger evergreen trees on one side and then more decorative bushes on the back side of the fence. Yes, ma'am.
Is that supposed to help absorb the sound?
Intended to help absorb the sound, but also with regard to sound, we did commission Kimley Horn, who's our project engineer, to conduct a sound study. And that was even without the barrier, just the normal sound that would come from these types of establishments at this distance. Mm-hmm. And they found that the sound levels reaching the residential property line would be below what the ambient sound levels are out there now.
And so when people come in and go into the driveway at night with their headlights on, how is that going to affect the neighbors?
So it shouldn't affect them at all. They will be coming perpendicular to the neighborhoods, actually parallel to the neighborhood street, and then turning up towards the north. The parking spaces that are pointing towards the southern end of the lot are reserved only for use by the church. And so those would be used primarily Sunday mornings and then for any special church activities. So nothing else would face downward.
How about the overhead lighting?
The overhead lighting all inward and downwardly directed. And as I said, the commercial aspect of the site is more towards the northern end. So the lit parking lot for the restaurants is towards the northern end of the site, further away from the residents.
So with the trash pickup,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have to do it till 8 o'clock? Could we make it an earlier time?
Let me consult with my client if that's okay. Yes, Ms. Wilson, my client would be okay with 7 o'clock if that would be okay with
Okay,
council.
so we can make that a condition.
Yes, ma'am.
7.
Mr. Mayor, the city attorney has a comment.
Mark?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, the collection time is a proffer. In a conditional rezoning, the proffer can't be changed on the night of the vote. It has to be submitted in advance. So in order to change that proffer, you would have to defer.
To change the proffer, we'd have to do what?
You would have to defer the application so that the
defer it.
proffer could be recorded.
Yeah. Okay. I was really surprised that I didn't hear from anyone from the neighbors, and I kept thinking, well, maybe I'm going to hear someone. So I didn't really realize there was the opposition that's there, but I have looked at this very hard and strong. This is a commercial corridor. I mean, you've got the grocery store across the street and that big shopping center across the street, and then along the side, you've got the other big shopping center with the TJ Maxx and all. You're really surrounded by commercial. And I don't know what else you would put on that lot. I heard at the Planning Commission, it's zoned R20, but putting housing right on Nemo Parkway, I don't think is a good idea either. So because it's the commercial property, I think changing the zoning is appropriate. And I do believe that Panda Express has worked very hard to try to accommodate so that it will not be so disruptive. I guess maybe since John Socha's here, maybe we can have him speak about the housing values.
Yes, ma'am. I'll call Mr. Socha. Mr. Socha performed an evaluation study to, in part, respond to the citizens' concerns.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Socha. I am a commercial appraiser in Virginia Beach, and I was hired by the applicant to conduct a study on housing values in the adjacent neighborhood, and I extended it across Nemo Parkway into Red Mill Farms. And what I found was in the adjacent neighborhood, most of those homes were constructed. There's 22 homes in that neighborhood. They were constructed between 94 and 96. Most of the commercial development was constructed after that. I went back and looked at home sales for the past 10 years and compared the homes that front Newstead Road or the western boundary where there's apartments, and did not find any difference in value in those properties compared to the home sales within the neighborhood. Also, which was interesting, even though there was all the commercial development around this neighborhood, there have been only 8 sales, 8 homes transferred during that period. So it seems like the home ownership, the people like the area. I mean, they're not leaving. Just to clarify it or just add support, I went across the street in Red Mill Farms, which abuts the east side of the new Hickman Shopping Center. And again, looked at home values that fronted Nemo or the Hickman Shopping Center, and went back 10 years and did not find any discrepancy in values for properties that front Nemo or the Hickman Shopping Center. So to make the claims that it's going to impact values, it hasn't. The homes were there before the commercial development, And there doesn't seem to be a lot of home ownership turnover in either neighborhood. So that's any questions?
Any other questions?
Question? No, go ahead.
My question is, I guess maybe not for Mr. Socha, thank you very
Okay.
much, but just for staff and maybe Mr. Beeman. So the residue parcel, the church parcel is going to be how big? Remind me.
2.5 acres.
Okay. So 2.5 acres. And then we talked about this, that the drive aisle that you're using for access and for parking, approximate acreage is
It
maybe almost half an acre.
yeah, it's 0.4 plus, so it gets you to almost half an acre. And then with
So
the landscape buffer as well.
If your client had owned that strip, we'd be closer to getting to the 3 acres. But because of the complications that we just heard from Ms. Burkhold, it would require another exception and variance in order, because of the frontage would be on this Newstead Drive, right? So
Yes, sir.
So, but what I'm trying to get at is the church has, I guess, constructive use over almost 3 acres by virtue of the access easement.
Perpetual access and parking easement. So that's exactly correct. The way the lot was originally configured, that area on the southern end with the drive aisle and the parking spaces that are going to be used by the church was going to be held in fee ownership by the church, and that was going to be the 3 acres. Instead of owning it, they're going to have an easement agreement over it in perpetuity. So they're still going to have use of the same area essentially, but it's going to be owned by the Panda Express folks, just to avoid a subdivision variance situation where it violates the subdivision ordinance.
All right, and for the most part, I mean, it seems like the retail establishments have plenty of parking for employees and guests. So the retail establishments are not really going to be using that.
Correct. They won't be permitted to.
Okay. And the reason I asked staff, just so you know, because I was kind of uncomfortable with this because, if you start making exceptions of, 3 acres, 2.5, then it goes a little bit, and where's it stop? So I want to make sure that, were there other instances where we'd approved CUPs for churches that were less than 3 acres, and there were actually several over the course of time. And I hadn't even considered the fact that, we've got churches in shopping centers. We've got churches that, I think I read one of them had 6 people go to the shrine on a periodic basis. So I mean, we all obviously live differently, worship differently. But these churches, and, we keep seeing these kind of over and over again in different kind of ways because churches, we've got a lot of them. Most of them don't need all of the 3 acres. Most of them have more than 3 acres, and we've got people who churches are not doing as well and consolidating and things. So that we've run into situations, as you know, that we've had some difficulty because churches are right in the middle or abutting neighborhoods, or they're right next to a pretty body of water, or they've got environmental whatever concerns. So I think we're going to keep seeing these over and over again, and even more so. So I hope, given the fact that we've made exceptions and reasoned ones over the years, to be flexible on the 3 acres, given the fact that you have pretty much 3 acres that you'll be using is helpful. But as we go through the comp plan process and, looking ahead, I think we probably just need to be mindful that these are going to be issues that are going to keep coming back again and again and again. And hopefully we've got some criteria to evaluate eventually when it is appropriate to go less than 3 acres, and how do we do better with abutting neighborhood concerns and environmental concerns and such. Thank you.
So I do appreciate the people that came out, and I understand your concerns. But however, Nema Parkway is a very busy road. It's a very commercial area. So with that, I'm going to move for approval for these two, for number 4 and 5.
Second. Any other discussion? Vote is open.
Open the vote here. Sorry, the vote is open.
For approval.
By a vote of 11-0, I'm sorry, 10-1, I apologize. By a vote of 10-1, You have approved items number 4 and 5.
Okay, thank you. I think that concludes. And do we have appointments? No appointments? Any unfinished business? Any new business? We are adjourned.